When Donald Trump assumed office in January, one thing became clear almost immediately. Business as usual between the United States and Europe was over. For decades, transatlantic trade had been built on shared values, deep economic ties, and mutual trust. The U.S. and its European partners, especially the United Kingdom, were not just allies, but economic pillars supporting one of the largest trade relationships in the world. Trump entered office with a very different philosophy. His message was simple but disruptive. Every deal must be renegotiated, every partnership reassessed, and every imbalance corrected. America first meets old alliances. From the start, Trump framed trade not as diplomacy, but as competition. He questioned whether long-standing agreements truly benefited American workers, manufacturers, and industries. Tariffs, once considered a last resort, became a primary tool. Steel, aluminum, automobiles, and agricultural goods were suddenly part of intense negotiations, sometimes cooperative, sometimes confrontational. European leaders were caught off guard. For them, transatlantic trade had always been a shared project. For Trump, it was a scoreboard. The UK's unique position. The United Kingdom found itself in a particularly delicate spot. As Britain navigated its own post-Brexit identity, it looked to Washington as a key economic partner. A strong U.S. trade relationship was seen as vital for Britain's future outside the European Union. But Trump's approach made one thing clear. Special relationships would not exempt anyone from pressure. Trade talks became leverage. Economic cooperation became conditional. Observers noted that trade discussions were increasingly linked to broader political expectations, from regulatory standards to border control and immigration policy. In Trump's worldview, everything was connected. Pressure as a strategy. Supporters of Trump's approach argue that this strategy worked. They say the United States finally negotiated from a position of strength, forcing allies and rivals alike to reconsider terms that had gone unquestioned for years. From their perspective, pressure wasn't hostility, it was realism. Critics, however, saw a different picture. They warned that uncertainty damaged investor confidence, strained diplomatic ties, and weakened the trust that had underpinned global trade since World War II. For the first time in generations, businesses on both sides of the Atlantic had to plan for instability not from markets, but from politics. A shift that still echoes. What makes this period especially significant isn't just what happened at the time, it's what changed permanently. Trump's presidency challenged a long-held assumption that economic alliances are immune to political disruption. Since then, transatlantic trade has become more cautious, more transactional, and more closely tied to domestic politics. Leaders now understand that agreements can be revisited, suspended, or reshaped at any moment. Whether viewed as a correction or a disruption, the Trump era marked a turning point. The bigger picture. Transatlantic trade is no longer just about goods crossing borders. It's about power, leverage, sovereignty, and national priorities. And the legacy of this shift continues to influence negotiations today, reminding the world that even the strongest partnerships are only as stable as the politics behind them. For better or worse, the rules changed, and the global economy is still adjusting.